people want to become full stack developers quickly, and they learn a lot of tools and resources that they don't actually need to learn. So today we're kind of going to go over exactly what you need to do to earn that full stack developer title, actually learn how to code, get some projects under your belt, and genuinely earn that nice paying job. First off, let's kind of go over what a full stack developer really is. A full stack developer is knowledgeable enough to create a full-fledged site without having reliance on other people. They're someone that can fully understand the front end, the back end, the database management of it all. They maybe even can do some kind of mobile development. They know how to deploy an application. Those are the different skills that are necessary to really consider yourself to be a full stack developer. So let's delve into that a little bit. First off, let's go to the front end. What exactly does it mean to be a front end engineer? So the front end is the UI, the user interface or user experience, UX. This is kind of where you actually see the front side of the website. You scroll down when you hover on things. This is the HTML, CSS, JavaScript of the website. Step one is to learn the front end. Honestly, I think that's the easiest place for most people to learn. That's personally where I started, and I find that it's really easy to type something and actually see a result on an actual screen, like a hello world, as opposed to working in Python first. So my first thing that I highly recommend is learning HTML and CSS. There's plethora of different free courses on YouTube where you can just watch a 2-hour tutorial crash course situation where you can learn the syntax of the two languages, and then after that you can then move on to JavaScript, which is your first ever real language. Once you kind of learn the big three, you're able to start moving on to learning more advanced topics like frameworks. One big framework that people use is React. Picture a framework kind of like an electric tool. So you know how to use the hammers, you know how to use the screwdrivers. The framework is kind of like using a drill instead. It makes your job a bit faster. It's not necessarily for every project that you can do. Sometimes you can just use a screwdriver and get by just fine. But the drill and the jackhammer, things like that, it makes your job a little bit easier, and it makes the project overall a little bit nicer as well. I personally learned JavaScript with Codecademy, and then I learned React with Scrimba. Both free platforms, both have free resources on them, so I'd highly recommend checking those places out. There's also a plethora of different great resources that I'll link down in the description below that I highly recommend you check out, because like I said, at the end of the day, there's so many free ways for you to learn how to code and actually get some projects under your belt. Now, honestly, you can go and start creating projects with just this, like a portfolio site or a little website for some small businesses. Reach out to people. Projects are the most important thing that you can really do to prove your knowledge with the skill in general. I'm not trying to continue to harp on about front end, but I think this is one of the more important steps. Once you learn these skills, a lot of them are transferable into the back end and then a little bit into the database management. All right, the next step is actually learning backend development. This is where you learn the Python, the Node.js, and where you actually start fetching APIs for your website. Kind of picture it like a library. You have a library at home that you can you can write your own books, but sometimes it's easier if you just borrow from the library instead and use their books in your home library. So that's kind of what it is. That's kind of what an API is on a really very simplified version of it. So it's kind of like borrowing other people's information. So for instance, you can use an API for a weather app, right? You don't actually know the weather in your area, but you can tap into somebody else's library, their storage unit, and borrow that information and plug it in your own website. You do that in the back end. This is also where they do CRUD operations. I personally use Python, but then I also learned Node.js as well for back end development. Python is super duper popular, so there are so many resources out there. One of my favorite YouTube channels for learning how to code specific syntax is Coding with Mosh, Programming with Mosh, I think. He's a great resource out there. Free Code Camp also has some great resources out there, whether it's their actual site or their YouTube channel. Amigos Code is another great one. Like I said, I'll link some down below as well that I found were really helpful. The next step is learning databases. Now, there are a lot of different database management out there. You don't really need to understand SQL syntax completely. I personally learned that through a class I'm taking right now in college. At the end of the day though, databasing is storing information. So whether your user has user first name, last name, address, date of birth, stuff like that, that is all data for your application, and that is stored in a database. And then the database systems pretty much can call that information. So if you have a user that you want them to log in and they use their email address and their password, that is saved in your database. All right, the last section that I highly recommend you learning is actually deploying the application itself. This is where you use database platforms like Vercel, Supabase, Firebase. You can have a project, but not actually pushing it and getting using users on it. The act of actually launching your application is a skill in of itself, because you have to learn those different systems. There are resources out there. I personally dove right in because after you learn the first few things, front end, back end, and database management, you kind of like at some point start teaching yourself. So I personally just taught myself, but there are, again, like other YouTube channels and resources that I'll comment down below that are really helpful for learning these different systems. Another thing that you should honestly learn that doesn't really fit under any of this is Git and Git commands, because that is kind of how you track your information and track your versions. So like GitHub, right? A lot of people have heard of GitHub. This is where you like push your projects for your resume, for your portfolio, right? So you'll hold a repository, which is your actual project. And then every single time you like add new things to it, whether you're adding a new button or you're adding new colors or some new cybersecurity features to your application, you can then push it to your GitHub or merge to whatever other people's GitHub if you're like helping out on one of their projects. It's actually pretty cool. It's a really great application, but there's a lot of different like names and stuff that you have to learn. So like actually making sure you're learning it, I think that's a pretty cool skill to know. All right, so now that you have the layout of what you need to learn, what is a good plan for actually like getting it done? I'm gonna be honest, I can't exactly tell you like when to do it, because everybody has a different schedule. I can't say you're gonna learn this in 3 months, because someone's gonna put 2 hours a day into it and somebody's gonna put 30 minutes into it a day. So I can't say you're gonna get it done in 3 months, because I don't know how much time you're willing to put into it. I can confidently say if you're putting in 30 to 45 minutes a day of actually learning the syntax and learning the code of it all, you will become very skilled very quickly. Creating projects, like I said, is one of the most important things that you can do, because that really is putting you in a situation where you genuinely you're gonna break your code. And it's gonna happen where you genuinely have no idea what's going on and you're gonna feel broken. And this is where we use AI. Now, at the end of the day, yes, AI is a thing. AI assisted developing, vibe coding, that is very, very real and very prevalent. I am not trying to ignore it at all. AI, at the end of the day, is very helpful for coding a web application. It is. You can use Figma Make for creating a front end design. You can use Claude Code for creating a decent back end, or Cursor for creating a full stack application. Whatever you want to do, really, like there are a plethora of different AIs out there that can create a website for you. That's not really what I'm trying to have you do. I'm trying to have you learn the skills first and then become an AI assisted developer later on, where you are stuck and you don't know how to fix this code, and then you use AI to come in and help you out and then explain what it's doing. That's really the big thing. I'm not really anti-AI at all, as long as you understand what it's doing. Become proficient in languages, build crazy projects, push to your GitHub, push to your portfolio, build a LinkedIn, and connect like crazy with recruiters and other people that work at the company that you want to work at one day, or maybe possible business partners if you want to create your own company like myself. Do your thing and like actually learn the skills necessary. I'm about to wrap up, but something I didn't really touch on was mobile development. That doesn't necessarily fall under full stack for some reason, but it's also a great thing for you to learn. I personally do mobile development with a React Native, which once you learn JavaScript and learn React, you can learn React Native and create cross-platform applications that are both work for Apple and Android OS. So that's really cool. There's a great like roadmap online. Roadmaps.sh, I believe, is the like title of the web application that you can use to kind of map out exactly what you need to learn. There's a lot of different full stack developer courses out there that I highly recommend checking out, as long as they're free. Do not do something that's not free. That's such a waste of your money, because genuinely there's so many free resources out there that can get you what you want. Now, you can learn one thing and specialize in it, but I'd highly recommend learning multiple things, becoming a cross-trained person, because that just makes you more of a hireable person, especially if you're trying to get one of the higher paying jobs in the tech industry. You don't need to learn everything, just start building. Do not, and I repeat, do not get stuck in the tutorial loop where you are consistently learning and learning and learning and not feeling like you're doing. Please don't do that. Learn from tutorials that actually have you practice something. Once you complete the tutorial, once you complete that 2-hour video, actually go build something with it. Use W3 Schools, use MDN Docs, use whatever you need to use to actually make sure you're using the syntax correctly, and code some projects for your portfolio. I don't care if it's a to-do list, a weather app, full mock platform of Amazon or Netflix. I don't care. Do something, build your resume, actually practice the skills that you're learning, and you are going to do great. My name's Courtney, and I'm here to be a resource for you in your beginning journeys of becoming a full stack developer. Please, please, please follow along, learn about some more resources and great ways that you can use your developer skills to make some money and also just succeed in this highly competitive tech industry. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Quartz Corner.